When I was 24 years old, I became number 30 employee at Facebook. I got 0.1% of the company in terms of stock. At the current present valuation, that'd be worth about $1 billion. I ended up getting fired by Facebook. I didn't get any of the money, but I learned a ton of lessons I'm gonna share for you in this video. Let's go. Why did I get fired? I got fired for numerous reasons. I understand, and I think Facebook made a good decision. And I still remember the day I got fired was Matt Kohler, who I'm still mad at, even though it's not his fault. He was doing what's in the best interest of the company. This is a video I don't really want to make, and I'm still surprised that 15 years later, I'm still telling the story. But there's something powerful for you, that the fact that just because I was at Facebook for 9 months, I'm still talking about it so many years later. And at the same time, those 9 months were some of the most transformative months of my life. So let me take a step back and tell you the story about how I actually got the job. I didn't have any connections. I didn't go to Stanford or Harvard. I went to Berkeley, go Bears. And I was a cubicle monkey at Intel. So how the hell did I work at Facebook? Now at the time, there wasn't that many people at Facebook. They did have, I just think, finished their Series A. Sean Parker was around. David Cho, the guy who made millions doing art. But what I was doing at the time was number one, I was geographically in Silicon Valley. 2, I was doing a bunch of side hustles on the side. So I was doing ninjacard.com, discount cards for college students, and I built a discount card website. We were doing HFG consulting, college marketing for businesses. We did collegeup.org, which was a Craigslist for college students. Entrepreneur27.org, which we've talked about, which is local networking events to meet other interesting young people. I literally just sent in my resume, and I saw that there was a job posting on the career section of Facebook for a product manager. Now, I never knew what a product manager did, and I still don't really know what they do. What it looked like is that they wanted someone to help build the website. And so what was interesting is that that's already what I was doing on the side. When I sent in my resume, it was just, hey, here's all the things that I've already got going on. And it made it easy for them to actually want to have that conversation. I remember getting the call and just being like, oh, this is cool. Let me just talk about the things I'm working on. So I talked to a recruiter and they said, hey, you're going to come in for an actual interview. Now, my expectations were really low. I was still planning to start my own company. My only thought was, well, if I get this job, it might be something I'd actually take. And I gotta take a step back. In your own career, you're gonna have ups and downs, and how you define that or let that define you is gonna really matter. Now, what does that mean? So before I graduated Berkeley, I got rejected from Google, and that was my dream at the time. This is before Google went IPO. I thought I was gonna get rich there, didn't get the job. My backup was to go work at Intel, so I was already pretty discouraged. And the point here that I'm trying to make is that you have to have some dream. You have to have some vision that you're excited about. For me, it was always to have my own company. It was to have the Noah Kagan production, that I could have the people I was really excited to be around working on things that mattered. And I thought Facebook was the only alternative. I'm like, well, if I got a job, this would be the dream place to get a job. And it was better than the dream I could have imagined. So I did 2 rounds of interviews, and then I was able to actually go in person. So I got an interview with Dustin Moskovitz. I interviewed with Doug Hirsch, founder of GoodRx. I did an interview with Mark. I think I saw Matt Kohler. And I remember walking into the office. It was 156 University Avenue, I believe. And you go into the office, and it's just like chaos. And it's desks everywhere. People are grabbing. There's a guy named Victor that was around, a guy named Ezra that was there. And you just see all these people just working. They kind of look at you. The culture was just kind of like, there's cables from the ceiling. I was like, this is very different than Intel. And I do remember that I got the job offer after I did that. And I was really excited. And it was a weird moment for me on 2 sides, because I went back to Intel and put in my 2 weeks, and my family was confused. My mom was like, what about health insurance? What about, like, why would you go to this company that no one knows about? Everyone knows Intel, it's very successful. And then same with my coworkers. I remember we had Mexican food, no surprise to you. We had tacos at a place in Santa Clara, and they're like, you wanna go to this Facebook thing? A lot of the things that seemed crazy to other people might actually, if it makes sense to you, you gotta go for it. And for me, it was a product that I was using all the time. I loved the product, and I thought the idea of connecting the entire world was really inspiring. I was like, what else would I be more excited to work on? There was nothing, besides maybe my own project, which I didn't have anything at the time. This was the only other thing I even considered. That's how I ended up getting the job there, and that began the journey. So what was my first day on the job like? I remember pulling up to the office. I was very excited. I was living at my mom's house in San Jose, and I remember walking, you take the elevator up, you go into the office space, and I remember Mark walking to me, and he's like, hey, I just fired your boss. Don't ever try to sell the company against me. I'm Mark, welcome to Facebook. What did I just get into? And so I remember someone gave me a laptop. Mac was cool, and Blackberries were cool at the time. Everyone got like a Blackberry and a laptop. And I remember seeing my boss, Doug Hirsch. He kind of walked out and then walked out the door. I never saw him again in that office. I ended up seeing him later. And I got a corner of a desk, and it was just like, go make things happen. This is very different than the cubicle and meetings on meetings experience that I was used to at Intel. This was free lunches. This was, they pay for your parking tickets. They would do your dry cleaning. There was alcohol and happy hour on Fridays. And at that time, I know now, the perks of some of the startups is just like free everything. You don't even have to work anymore. At the time, that was really unique. Google just started getting going with that, and Facebook actually went beyond that in terms of what they were offering. If you want more videos about my business journey to help you on your own, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I put out 3 juicy business videos every single week to help you get your business off the ground. So my role is product manager. So a lot of it would be, Mark says, hey, our goal is growth, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. Here's the product stuff I want. You guys go make it happen, or come up with things that you think will help the website. And he was very particular. But in terms of my specific contributions, I went to areas that I thought needed help or weren't being worked on. So number 1 was Facebook ads. So me and Kent Schoen, Mark Slee, and a few other guys, Wayne Chang. Facebook flyers, if you remember that long ago, was V1. And we actually were like, how do you do targeting? How do you get people to spend more? How do you make it actually more effective to get people actually doing that? So I was able to help launch that, Facebook ads from Facebook flyers. I helped launch Facebook corporate and Facebook high school. So back in the day, Facebook was only for high school, as well as then eventually open up to the rest of the world, which I was not a part of. I helped launch Facebook mobile. So me, Mark Slee, Naomi, and a few others launched Facebook mobile. This was when mobile browsers weren't like they are. It was very basic, but there wasn't anything like that, and that was really fun. As well, I'd say my greatest invention that ended up becoming Twitter was Facebook status. So that's what's become Instagram, it's what's become Twitter. At the time, I remember thinking, hey, it's pretty static. I updated my profile and there's nothing else there. What about what I'm doing right now? And Dustin was like, hey, well, we already did away messages. Do you remember AIM? They had away messages. We already integrated that, but no one used it. And I remember it was really fascinating. And Dustin and I were talking about it. I was like, well, I really think people want to update status, what's going on immediately. Why don't we test it? And if 10% of the people end up using it in the test cohort, let's roll it out to everybody else. And it was an immediate success, but I will think the framework of saying, hey, let's test it. If it works, we can roll it out, made it easier to make that decision. I think that's probably one of my greatest additions to Facebook. There's been a lot of add-ons. Would it have happened otherwise? Maybe, I don't know. It ended up, Twitter launched that similar thing months later. So I would say that was pretty damn amazing. What was a typical day like at Facebook? Well, I ended up living in a house with 6 other Facebook people, which was honestly awesome. Imagine your whole life, like you love Pokemon, and your whole life is about Pokemon. And you get to work on Pokemon, you make videos about Pokemon. That was Facebook. It was like, yo, I get to work on this all day. I get to like go home and talk to all the other guys about it. On weekends we work on it and we hang out. It was more important than my family and my girlfriend at the time. And so a typical day would be getting up around 10, getting to the office. I lived in Palo Alto at a house with other guys, moved out of my mom's house. Kind of check your email, you check your Facebook messages, and then it would start be working on projects. So you're meeting with the developers to checking status, then it'd be testing the mobile version or communicating with the support team or the QA team like, hey, what's going on with the product? Have you guys seen any bugs? It'd be doing meetings with different functional teams from Naomi Glide to the marketing team, Randy Zuckerberg, Mark's sister. And then a lot would be dicking around, checking out stuff on the internet, looking at TechCrunch when TechCrunch was big. And then maybe 7, 8 p.m., played poker a lot of times. Sean Parker or Peter Thiel came by. And then you go home at 10. I remember I'd go home, I lived in this room, it was whatever. And I'd watch 24, I'd watch an episode, go to sleep at like midnight or so and do it all again. And I'd do it almost 7 days a week. Now let's talk about Mark. Everyone, what is it like Mark? I've met Bill Gates, I've met Steve Jobs, I've met Jeff Bezos, I've met Mark Zuckerberg, I worked with him directly. Mark is exceptional. As much as he's a weirdo, as much as I thought his mom was kind of rude to me, and I like that my mom is really nice to everyone I work with at our company, he is very gifted. And what do I mean by that is that we would have, 20 smart people working on different products all across the company. Maybe it's launching to high school, maybe it's launching to mobile, maybe it's launching ads. And we've spent weeks working on the product, just about to launch it. Been thought of in all these ways. There's a guy named Aaron Siddick who's a phenomenal designer. Mark comes over, looks at the screen. He's like, I don't understand, what about this? And you're like, how the hell did you see that? It was wild. It was so inspiring and impressive to be around him. And I remember going to a meeting with him in one of the rooms. I'd say, Mark, like, we're not making any money. We're losing money. I know we're funded, but I'm a traditionalist. I like profit, Mark. What can I say? You're my Jewish brother. Let's do this stuff. And he's like, Noah. And he wrote on the whiteboard, growth. And because I specifically was pitching, we should sell tickets on Facebook. And I think what's interesting is he understood that there was a network effect, meaning that if he could get all of the audience in the space, then all the money stuff is going to be there. And what he called it was the toll booth. If he can have all the people on the internet through his website, through his places, then having a toll booth taking nickels and dimes from everyone is where he's going to make billions of dollars, which is what he did. And so we said it's growth. And anything with growth we do, anything outside that circle we don't do. And that's something that we still do this day at AppSumo.com, which is what is the priority and how do we focus everything around that priority? Can't say we're perfect at it, but it's something we definitely strive for. And I learned that directly working for Mark Zuckerberg. And as well with Mark, I loved the vision that this young kid my age was saying he's going to take over the world. Now, let me clarify as well. This is when MySpace was still bigger than Facebook. there was no certainty that we were gonna win. But internally, we knew that they had shitty ads. We called them dumbasses. We thought we were the best. And Mark believed and made it very clear, we are going to the fucking moon. He was diamond hands before anyone had thought about that shit. And I remember at one of the first weeks he had all hands. So he would do all hands every Friday where either we demo new products or he would be talking about different things in the company. And I remember him saying, hey, we got $1 billion offer from Yahoo. And this is when Yahoo was the shit. I know nowadays you guys don't use Yahoo or Excite or Ask.com. But for us dinosaurs, that was the company at the time. And I remember Mark saying, like, I don't want to sell. It inspired the shit out of me because I was like, he cares. And it also was like, wow, like, we're going to be serious about this. And the second thing that Mark talked about is that the vision of this company was big. And I think that's something that at AppSumo we're really instilling in our culture. And I think companies like Amazon, like Apple, like Facebook, think big. Mark's from the beginning said, we are going to connect the entire world. And this is when Facebook had about 10 million people. Imagine that. And the same thing with Amazon, the same thing with AppSumo now. It's like, how do we help all the entrepreneurs, the people who want to be entrepreneurs? That's a lot of people out there. And I remember thinking, wow, this guy's vision is just so beyond everyone else. And that was what a few of the first days were like. Why did I get fired? I got fired for numerous reasons. And now that I've hired and fired people, probably thousands of them over the year, I understand, and I think Facebook made a good decision. And I still remember the day I got fired. It was Matt Kohler, who I'm still mad at, even though it's not his fault. He was doing what's in the best interest of the company. Brought me into a cafe in Palo Alto, and they said, hey, we're letting you go today. And I just was shocked. I didn't expect it. And they said, we think you're a liability, and you're not going to work out here. And I just, like, I couldn't believe it. And I know they fired a lot of people right before their equity vested. And it was just disappointing, and it was everything. It was like my whole life. And I remember going back to the office, and this guy, Darian Shirazi, who went on to start Radius.com, was like, yo, what happened? I was like, oh, I got fired. He's like, what the fuck? He was in college at the time. And yeah, it was really disappointing. It was sad. It was like, imagine your whole identity ripped from you. And I lived in the house, so I went and bought, I turned in my phone, because I didn't have a phone. I had a Facebook phone. I had to get a phone from Verizon to call my girlfriend, which was embarrassing. And everyone knew I worked there because I was blogging about it on okdort.com all the time. It sucked. I bought a pack of cigarettes, went to the Facebook house, smoked on the balcony, and then I went to my buddy Johnny Lamb's house, and I lived on his couch for a while in Santa Clara. And I remember that first night, we were having a dinner, and all these people from Intel were like, yo, man, how's Facebook? Like, how's that experience? And I was like, well, it's fine. I think I was too embarrassed to tell him I got fired. I told Johnny, and that was a hard day. And so why did they fire me? Let's back up and say, what is it that we can all learn from that experience? I think there's a lot to learn from Facebook about being around excellence, how geography matters, working on problems you care about, working with people that impress you, feeling uncomfortable, because that's where a lot of the growth happens. There's a lot of different things, but those are a lot of the themes. Mark sat me down one time, and I was blogging, and I was still doing my Entrepreneur 27 conferences, and I was blogging about Facebook. I thought, people should hear more about our company. I think we have great things going. And he said, Noah, this is not your show. This is Mark's show. This is the Facebook show. And it won't be your show. And he wasn't trying to be mean about it. He was just like, this is Facebook. This is my show. This is what we're trying to do. And if you want to be a part of it, that's great. If not, then maybe you should go do your own, these conferences and all these things on the side that you seem excited about and make that decision. And ultimately, that's what I was wanting to do, whether, maybe the universe pushed me in that direction. And I was doing things that wasn't scaling with the company. I was doing press that they weren't asking for. I wanted people to talk about us, even though Facebook never did it until later. I was trying to using Facebook to promote myself and to make conferences and meet other people, where really at a company, it is a team thing. It is not a rock star. I fucking hate when people call people rock stars. It's like, it's a band. It is a team. And it is a group collective. And I think I still wanted my own show, to have my own band that I could be a part of, that I felt like I could influence positively. And I don't think I scaled with the company. There are people that are exceptional in the beginning, and I am one of those. And I think I've actually weirdly matured where I'm doing better now to scale with a company, but that's something that I wasn't able to do at Facebook, and I wasn't able to do at Mint. And then as I started my own company, AppSumo.com, I was able to figure out, like, oh, I do like these pieces, and finding the places that I'm strong at, and the places I suck at, hiring people that actually love doing that, like Alona, like Chad, like Nick Christensen. There's been a lot of amazing people, like Eamon, that's been very lucky to have around and help us create an amazing marketplace for entrepreneurs at AppSumo.com. I do wonder sometimes, like, if I would have stayed there an extra 9 months, an extra 4 years, one, how would I be different with having all that money, straight up? I do know a lot of the people that have made hundreds of millions of dollars from that company. There's some that don't seem that happy. Once you get a lot of money, you still live. And so how you choose to spend that time is challenging. And the pursuit of getting that money is actually a lot of the enjoyment, not necessarily when you actually just have it. And so some of them seem lost. So if I had hundreds of millions of dollars, would I be making YouTube videos for you guys? I hope so. I guess I was blogging since 2000. I was blogging during Facebook, which I think led to some of my downfall there. But I definitely do think I would still be sharing with y'all. On the other side, I think what I'd be more disappointed on in not sticking around there longer and not having it work out is what else I could have learned. In 9 months, I learned a lot. It would have been interesting to learn how do you scale through a company, how do you eventually maybe get it to IPO, how do you actually lead more teams and leadership. I think there's just a lot of more career development I could have learned, and I think that's part of the appeal at AppSumo.com, where there are junior people like Zach and Brendan and some of the newer guys and girls on the team, where it's like, hey, I've experienced now 20 years of business. I can actually teach you guys a lot at this company. And so, definitely would I regret getting fired? Yeah. Do I think they made the right decision firing me at that time? Hell yeah. So what are some of the major lessons from this whole experience? One, don't feel bad for me, and don't feel bad for you. We're all gonna go through some shitty times, and that's what this video is for yourself. You're gonna go through some crappy times, and guess what? Life will go on, and use that to motivate you. I was literally depressed and motivated by this probably for about 10 years. Yeah, Mom, about that long. Yeah, I was really annoyed, and I was embarrassed, and I was fucking angry. And not only that, then Facebook and Mark's goddamn face were fucking everywhere. And it was annoying. I saw him on Oprah, and I'm like, God damn, he's hating on me. And then he banned my company years later. I was like, can I get a break from this guy? So the point is there's gonna be these hardships, no matter what, and how we face them, how we feel through them, how we experience them really is gonna define it. Being mad is okay. Channel that into something more positive is what I think I would try to encourage you from my story. Other major things is be around impressive people, geographically impressive people, intellectually impressive people, net worth impressive people. And I was at a thing that was just like the most impressive people in the world. I would never take that back. And I would say I was up there, but I definitely was at the top, and that was great to be around. Another thing is go work on problems that matter to you. I saw Mark Andreessen who said, don't work on things you're passionate about, work on big industries. I disagree. I think you should work on big industries of things you're interested in. And I was super interested in connecting the entire world. I thought this is a product that's so amazing that I can't see it not succeeding. Same with Mint.com. Same with AppSumo.com. And go find that for yourself. What is a problem that you really want solved that has a huge ass market of people that want that problem solved too? I wish you the best in your own career. Hopefully it's a lot easier, but maybe there's gonna be some speed bumps, and how you define it is really gonna define you, and I'm excited for you on your own journey. If you've liked this video about my own Facebook experience, here are 13 lessons I learned directly from Mark Zuckerberg in this video right up here. I think you're gonna really enjoy. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. I make these juicy videos for you. I'd love for you to see every single one of them. I love you, and I'll see you out there. Pew, pew.